Now what I'll do is I'll go through my basic outline of my pitch that I use the same pitch over and over and over again for every person. It's the same basic outline. Part of the presentation I'll be doing exactly, when I go in each one of these individual things, I'll go in exactly what I do in the pitch, and then I'll break away from that and go back to being me, just talking to the crowd, and we'll analyze every step. Now, anytime you have any question or you want to ask something on anything, just feel free. Raise your hand. We'll go into it at that point, okay? Now, basically, let's analyze what our whole job is here. What are we doing? Why do we get up in the morning and come to work? We get up in the morning, we come to work to make money. What are we doing? We're selling a product. What is the product? Now, you have to understand that, first of all, the product being a new form of vacation ownership versus staying in motels. What we're doing, though, we're actually going up to this trailer, picking up a man and a wife or whoever, and in 90 minutes to 2 hours, 1.5 hours to 2 hours later, you're asking those people to spend $7,000 to $9,000. Now, that is not easy. First of all, these people know what they're coming to, and some of them don't even know everything, okay? But they don't have any intentions of buying it. So you have 1.5 hours to 2 hours at the most to get them to spend $8,000 or $9,000. Now, how do you do that? Well, first of all, we definitely have the product that fits their needs. Not everybody, but enough come in that door that it fits their needs that we can make a good living. So what we have to do is we have to convince them that they need it, they can afford it, and they deserve to vacation this way in the future. And it's all a mental thing. You see, your mind is going to try to take their mind into making a decision if I want to buy that. So how you have to do it is you have to go through all these steps and close every door in their mind. And what the steps of the sale are, regardless of whether they're selling time sharing or insurance or phones or, satellites, it doesn't matter. It's the same basic outline. There's 8 steps to my sale. And my pitch is nothing, I've been doing this for a year, it's nothing but a little bit of everybody else's pitch plus some of my own into the one thing. So what you'll do is you'll get something today, I hope, out of my pitch that you can use in yours. And there's other people, too, that you'll add to. You'll play your own things to make it work. But I say that if you go by this basic outline, you can't help but be successful in this business because the product will sell itself to enough people. Now, let's go over it. The first thing is your warm-up. Okay, basically the whole step of the sale is you're going to do the warm-up, then you have the problem or need. You have to create a problem in these people's mind that they need this product or they're never going to buy anything. So you have to create this problem. Then after the problem's been created, you warmed up, you created a problem, you go to the solution to the problem, which the solution to the problem is owning our product, a week of economy, and that they can come here or vacation all around the world, which there you get into the RCI and the exchange, which is actually the glitter of the whole sale. Now, after that, after you've explained everything, the basic understanding, you have to create urgency. You have to give them a reason why they're going to buy today. Because otherwise, you're going to get them at the other table, they're going to go, we like it, we can use it, we can afford it, but I ain't going to buy it today. Because there wasn't enough urgency in there, and I'll show you how to put that in there. Then we do the movie, then we have your property tour, and then you have your close, which is absolutely one of the most important, if not most important things in the whole tour. But if they all don't go together, they all won't work. Because what each one of these steps are doing is they're closing the door in their mind to what 1.5 hours or 2 hours later, they will spend $8,000 or $9,000 of their money. If you don't close every door all the way through, they're not going to buy it, okay? Now let's take each step individually. First of all, we have the warm-up. When I'm sitting down here and they call me and they say, Jim, you got enough. I say, okay. I psych myself on the way up there. I picture a sale in my mind when I'm going up there. And I go up there, I get the survey, I see where they're from, their name. I walk over to them and say, John and Mary Smith. I shake their hand, look them dead in the eye, and I say, hello, John. Nice to meet you. I'm Jim. I'll be your host to show you around our resort. Nice to meet you, Mary. Come on with me. So they follow me out of the trailer, and as I'm walking from the trailer to this trailer down here, well, that is where I do almost my whole warm-up, actually. What happens is I start talking about where they're from. If they're from New York, I'll talk about what the weather was like, or had they been to Disney yet. Now, there's every question that I'm asking when I go from the up shack to the trailer where we pitch is all a question that's giving me an answer that I need to know to help me sell. It's not just talk. The reason why I want to know if they're going to I say, have you been to Disney yet? Or how did you like Disney? If they say, oh, we've loved it, then I want to know what day they got in town. Or how long you been in town? Oh, we've been here 3 days. I like that better than somebody that just got in last night. If you have somebody say, when did you get in town? Oh, we just got in town last night. We hadn't seen Disney yet. And they got kids up in the game room. you can better, you find out where they're going when they leave here. I say, well, where you going to Disney today? Oh yeah, we're going to Disney when we leave here. Well, you know, with those people, you have to take that out of them. And how I take it out of them is when I get back down in the pitching room and I'm going over a pitch, I'll say, well, let me tell you something about Disney. You'll be here for 4 or 5 days. The best time to go over there is not first thing in the morning. Because first thing in the morning, there's a real big crowd. It's a long line to get in there, and everybody's backed up in their car. And then it takes about an hour or so to get in. The smartest thing to do is go in about 11 or 11:30. You'll breeze right in the crowd. You don't have a long traffic jam. They stay open until midnight, so you're not going to stay 12 or 13 hours anyway. And when I'm telling them this, they go, oh, that sounds good. They'll shake their head. They agree with you. Well, what have I done? I'm not going to get back in my clothes and have a woman saying, hurry up, honey, we got to get those kids to Disney World. We just can't make a decision. You see, you take off, I close that door there. There's all these little steps that you have to do all the way through yourself, or you'll find these things will come back to haunt you. Anyway, I like to find where they're from. I talk, I bring them in, I offer them donuts, coffee, go down and sit them at the table. Always have the man and woman beside each other facing you. Never have them on each side of the table, because you're going back to back, you get the crick in your neck, plus they're able to look at each other eye to eye, and that's not good in the front end. It's better to have them looking directly at you and you looking directly at them. Okay. So you always sit them down properly. Then I fill out a survey with them. The survey is also, when you're going on the survey, that's in the warm-up, that survey is telling you how to pitch them, okay? For example, let's say that they've never been to Florida before, and if they've never been to Disney, or if they've been to Disney before, you know, you find these things out. How many weeks a year to vacation? 1 week, 2 weeks. For example, the guy I had this morning, people I sold this morning, do you intend to vacation next year? Yes. And for the next 10 years? No. So immediately I stopped right there. I would not go past that question until you talk to them a little bit about this, because they don't have a need for your product if they don't vacation. For example, what I found with this man is he mentioned he didn't know if he could afford a vacation next 10 years, so he didn't want to put yes on there. So we talked about it a little bit, and then that gives you a chance to kind of talk about rising motel bills, and food alone costs a fortune. You know, you get into different things because you're creating a problem. Or if you have somebody that says, no, do you intend to vacation next year? No. Annually for the next 10 years? No. Then you better not pass that question until you talk to these people a little bit. Like I always say, your company doesn't give you a vacation? And they go, oh, no, we get 2 weeks of vacation a year. Well, why don't you vacation? Is it the money, or more that you don't like to leave home, or you don't like the vacation? Oh, no, we like the vacation. It's the money. In other words, they'll tell you a reason, and then you go into, I understand it's got to where people can't even afford a vacation no more due to rising motel costs. You know, certain things like that. And you're showing them a way that they can be able to take vacations and never worry about it forever. And you'll sell those people, okay? Because a lot of times they can afford it. But you have to overcome these objections right down the survey. Then places where they want to go in the future, that's important, because that gets in your dreams. I tell them, hey, if I was a fairy godfather, I could pop you anywhere in the world for 1 week. Tell me some places you'd like to go. Would you like to go to Bahamas? You know, you check these out because you bring them in the book. And you find out where they want to go the most. I mean, if they say, well, I'll go to the Bahamas, then you don't show them the Bahamas in the book. You show them the ones that I've always wanted to go to Hawaii. Show them Hawaii. Show them how they can stay in a condominium that if they went over there and rented, they'd be paying $200 to $250 a night, and their sweet little behind wouldn't be over there. Okay, and you can show them a way to go over there for $130 maintenance fee and $52 for change. Okay, which you break $182 into 7 days, and it comes up to be $26 a day. So you can put them in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condominium in Hawaii for $26 a day, which they can save that on their food because they'll have the kitchen when they get there. Oh yeah, they got to buy the unit. Sure they do, but they always own it. If they bought it today and had it for 10 years and sold it for what they paid for it, they still vacation in Hawaii for $26 a day. So, I mean, you definitely have the product to sell. Okay, now, we've done our warm-up. Then, you know, you always talk about their job. The best thing that I always relate with people, what kind of work you do, how do you like your job. People will always, you're having a problem warming up with anybody. Like if the man is warming up to you, but the woman's sitting over like this with her nose up, you know, talk about her job. Where do you work at? Well, I'm a nurse. Oh, you're a nurse? Y'all should be paid as much as doctors. You know, whatever you have to do, but get that woman in, and their job is something that everybody will always talk about. Okay, so you can remember that. If you're having a problem relating to them, go to their job and harp on that. All right, after you finish the survey, and now we've done our warm-up, now we're going in what I actually call my presentation. Okay, I've done my warm-up, I'm drinking coffee with them and so forth. We did all the little chit-chat. This could take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to 15. I don't suggest going over 10. It just depends on how you feel. You know, some people might warm up 15. Everybody's different, okay? So you do what you feel comfortable until you see that their body language is, their arms are down. If they're like this, don't start anything. You can feel it when it's right, okay? That's when you move in your presentation, which is moving into step 2. Step 2 is the problem. We have got to create a problem. So now let's talk about the problem. Now I'm going to go right into my pitch. This is how I do it. I say, okay, John and Mary, why do people get involved in this program? Why is everybody buying the product that I'm fixing to show you? I mean, if you haven't never saw a resort before, you don't know, but the sales of this business are doubling every year for the last 10 years. Actually, they're starting to timeshare everything. There's some stables in Florida now, believe this or not, that they're timesharing horses. That's right, they're taking a horse, they're selling it to 30 different families, and each person is chipping in to, for feed and maintenance of the horse and the upkeep, and you get to use it so much of the time. Because why own the whole horse when you're only going to ride it, 4 or 5 hours a week or whatever? You timeshare when you ride on an airplane. You don't own the whole plane, you pay for the space and time that you need. They're timesharing computers. Actually, interval ownership and condominiums is just one form of timesharing that you will see that will be the thing of the future. Okay, so actually this is still relatively new. But why do people get involved in it? The reason why they get involved in it is because I can show you in the next 90 minutes how you can take the same money. Let's assume that you went on vacation next year for 1 week to the mountains. The year after that you went to the beaches. The year after that you went to the Bahamas. The year after that you went to Florida and so forth. You took 1 week a year for 10 years, the next 10 years. I will show you how the money that you're spending now, the Holiday Inn or Days Inn, even $50 a night, in the next 10 years and not get anything back, that's strictly rent money, would have been enough money to come over here and buy a week of this condominium and own it forever. It should be vacation every year after that free, plus you own the condo, so in essence you didn't spend that money, you just rerouted it from savings into a piece of real estate, which is another asset in your portfolio. So that's why people get involved in this program. They can vacation in the long run and save money. But the other part is you'd be living like a king. You would not be staying in what you get to stay in without owning this product, because you wouldn't be out paying $150 a night to stay in these type units. Actually, really what it is, it's the blue collar's way to vacation like a millionaire. Now let me show you how the program works and why we have such a problem. You're staying at the Days Inn now, John. How much are you paying there a night?
60.
Well, it's $48.88, say $50, okay. Now, $50, those Days Inns, as little as 9 years ago when they first came to Orlando, they were called 8 Days Inn. They were $8.88 a night. You could have went to New Orleans in 1964 and stayed at the Holiday Inn in New Orleans for $12 a night. That same room is now $68. The room hadn't changed for the amount of money that you pay had. We've had, for example, let's take the average room rate that you'll find that you usually pay at a resort area is at least $50 a night. Would you agree to that? Now, I know on the road between here and New York, you can get motels for $25 or $30 on the freeway. But when you get to the mountains, the beaches, or wherever you're going, you're going to pay at least $50 a night for a decent room, something to put your family in. Is that right? Okay. Now, let's assume that y'all go away for the next 10 years of vacation. You're paying $50 a night. This chalk isn't too good, so y'all have to bear with me here. And you're going to go away for a week. Then your family would spend $350 for 1 week's accommodations. Now, let's assume that you're going on vacation from 1984 to 1994. You'd bring this number down to $3,500. But actually, this number's wrong. If you really want to see what you're going to spend the next 10 years, this number's wrong. Can anybody tell me why this number's wrong? What? Inflation. Exactly. You will not be paying $50 a night in 1994. Now, let's assume we had a 10% motel inflation for 10 years. That would be 100% inflation. Okay? Now, my factors aren't exactly right because I'm not computing it year. But let's just make a simple numbers to compute this. If you had 100% inflation the next 10 years, you're saying that the cost of this room would double. In other words, you'd be paying $100 a night in 1994. Now, if you double the amount of money that you're spending out of your pocket, you have to double the amount of money that you spend. So in other words, the family could spend $7,000 in the next 10 years in their motels. That's taking a week a year vacation for the next 10 years. When you check out that motel, they're going to give you a receipt. And that receipt, if you're like most people, you're going in the trash can. So that $7,000 now equals zero as far as what you have to show for it. In other words, you got photographs, memories, and whatever. But this is strictly rent money that was spent and really buying the Holiday Inn for the Holiday Inn man or the Days Inn for the Days Inn man. And all I'll do is show you how to take the same amount of money you give the motels anyway, reroute it from rent money into ownership and own your own condo, so as every year after that you're able to vacation for free, plus stay in a luxury condo. Now, let me go into example 2. Okay, now what I did there, now I'm breaking back out of my pitch. You'll just have to get used to the transition. Okay. Now, anyway, what I try to do here is create need, and there's a reason why I show that figure, $7,000. Because at the close, I'll bring that back out. And I'll say, you remember when we showed a family was spending $7,000 in the next 10 years in motels, and they go, yeah. And I'll say, look how cheap you can own one of these. $9,000. You know, it's almost the same amount of money you'll give a hotel 10 or 12 years, not get nothing back. You would own this. Doesn't that make more sense? Can't you see why we're selling these so fast? And they'll go, yeah. And then you go right into showing them how they finance. And I'll get to that later. But I mean, who couldn't understand it? Now there's another part that's one part of my problem or I need. I have another part that I use when I have people that own their own home. Let's say that I ask John and Mary, John and Mary, when did you buy your home? You own your own home or you rent it? We own it. How many years ago did you buy it? Let's assume it's 8 years. I bet that's the best thing you ever did. Yep, and they'll tell you why. Now, let me show you some of the people that own their own home versus people that rent. Okay, let's say that this man here owned his own home and this man here rented. And let's go back in time 30 years, because most people's mortgages are for 30 years. Is that how yours is set up? And they'll say, yeah. Now, you see, I keep asking these people questions, and they answer me back. They're part of the presentation, see. Now, if you go back in time and you take a man that bought his home 30 years ago, he had the same house payment every month for 30 years, okay? At the end of 30 years, you stop paying. Now, let's say the guy next door, let's say he rented his home. Every 3 or 4 years, the landlord comes around and raises the rent. So in the long run, the man that rented his home paid more money out of his pocket than the guy that bought his home in the long run. And you know what? When this guy stops paying, this guy's got to keep paying or he's going to have to sleep with the dogs. Okay? You're going to have to move out. But the icing on the cake is the man that bought his home, in essence, has every dime he paid for it because, well, for example, my parents bought a home in '59 for $19,000. All right, they had a 25-year mortgage. They owe 1 more year. The payment's $75 a month, and it's to be paid for. Now it's worth about $80,000, and they have all. It's like having $80,000 in the bank that they wouldn't have had if they rented for the last 25 years. So anybody would tell you, obviously, it makes more sense to own than rent over a long period of time. All we do is take the same concept and apply it towards your vacation. When we vacation, we're all renters paying motel rents, and we continue to pay more and more every year. All I'll do is show you how to take the money you're going to give the hotel in the next 10 or 12 years of rent money, reroute it over here into ownership, own a week of a condominium that you own forever. You stop paying, you get every free vacation after that, because in essence you have your money back because you own the property. If the property appreciates over the years, that's just icing on the cake. Okay, now this is the second part. Now, I never use this part if the people are renting a home, you know what I mean, because you just told them they were an asshole for renting. But I mean, I rented many times, I rented last year. I mean, it depends on
what they are anyway?
Huh?
That's what they are anyway, aren't they?
No, I don't know.
Well, how the hell is staying down?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about their home. Yeah, but anyway, what happens here is if I got somebody that owns their own home, I'll use both these examples. If I got somebody that rents, I just use the one at 50 a night where they spend $7,000. It's just two different ways that you create the problem or the need. Doesn't matter if you want to use them both or one, whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, now I've stirred them up a little bit. In fact, I also tell them a few other things. U.S. News and World Report, they had an article that said by 1992 the average hotel room would be $100 a night. Now you can go pay $100 a night if you want to now. Go up to the Hilton, it's $110 and up. Go to the Palace, they're $160. Hyatt Regency, $160. I mean, they're all over this town for that. And I'll tell you what, the crazy thing about it is you go to the Hilton, the Palace, the Marriott for $100, and none of them will hold a candle to what we're selling here. There's still a basic motel room with a 1 bath and 2 double beds for $100 and up a night. And it won't hold a candle to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath luxury condominium, full kitchen, 25-inch remote control color TVs, man. That's what's crazy. But anyway, all right, that's the problem and the need. Now let's go into the solution to the problem. Now this is where you go into explaining how the program actually works. Now, quick as I go into from from the problem, I just go right down to the next section on my paper and go into the solution. Now, let me tell you the solution to this problem. What we have is a whole new form of vacation. It's called interval ownership or time sharing. Basically, what we do is we take luxury condominiums. I'm not too good of an artist, so bear with me here. We divide it up into 52 weeks. Week 52 is the last week of December, and week 1 is the first week of January. Okay? And we sell it by the week. I'm a licensed real estate agent. When you leave here today, you will actually own the condominium, leave here with the deed, all your paperwork when you leave out here. All the people that, buy today, they leave here with their deed and everything, okay? Now, there's no difference in what you're buying here as far as taking ownership than just going out and buying a regular house in Florida or the home you own in New York. You physically get a deed to the property. You own it. Absolutely no difference in the way you take title whatsoever. The only difference is the amount of time that you're buying. For example, we could take one condominium, in theory, and sell it to as many as 52 owners. We could have 52 people own the same unit, each different week. They'd have 52 deeds. But in reality, we usually have about 30 to 35 owners. But some people get 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I mean, my God, we had a guy there last week bought 6 weeks, okay? The most I'd ever saw a woman buy was 12. She was from Switzerland, but she vacationed all around the world. She had 3 months a year off. Okay, but most people get 1 or 2 weeks because that's how most people vacation, 1 or 2 weeks a year. Now, let's assume that okay, so I know when they're surveyed that they vacation in August. That's another thing you find in surveys. We'll just use August. Let's assume that you bought week 33, Joe and Mary, which is a week in August. Now, these are your rights. You have the right of use. In other words, you have the right to use it. You own it. Next year when you came back down here, instead of staying the days in, you'd be staying in your luxury condominium. It's yours, you own it. If you didn't use it, you could rent it out. Now you work for the telephone company, Mary, and Joe, you work for the hospital. So let's assume that you work with somebody you work with. They're a couple want to come to Disney and Epcot. They could pay you the money instead of staying in a motel. They could pay you. You could put it in your pocket. They could rent your condo. Put the money in your pocket, so you could rent it. You can sell it. Let's say 10 or 15 years down the road, it no longer fits your lifestyle. Let's say one of you die or pass away or whatever, and the other one no longer wants it. If you want to sell it, you can sell it. You have the deed, it's your property to sell it. But the greatest part of this whole program, Joe and Mary, is you and I both know that you ain't coming down here every year, and it ain't always going to be that same week in August if you did. You might not be down here once the next 10 or 15 years. But by owning here, you belong to an exchange company called RCI, Resort Condominiums International. And that allows you to exchange your vacation home here, anywhere around the world. Actually, right now, it's over 730 resorts, but by October 1st, it's going to be over 1,000. Now, you might say over 1,000 because it's going to be October 1st in a minute. Okay, now, this is where I stop. Okay, breakaway, boom. What I've done here is I explained the solution, which is interval ownership. Okay, I explained basically how they take ownership, that they own a week, they have all the same rights in the home. That's all I did there. Now I want to go into the next step, which is RCI and exchange. Now this is the sizzle. This is where you'll get so many deals. You have to have a logical pitch. It has to logically make sense to them. But it also, they buy this stuff basically on emotion. It's still an emotional sale with logic. I mean, if you don't get any emotion or any sizzle, it can logically make sense. Yes, that logically makes sense. Yes, I would use it. Yes, it makes, but I ain't buying it because you didn't get them emotionally up to buy it. Okay, and there's an art to that, and you have to. Where you get that emotion is right here in the RCI and the exchange. Now, what I do at this point, I stop here. I pull my RCI book out on the table. I open it up. I really should have brought it with me. And I go through and show them the different areas in the world they're located in. And actually, this time, there's not a free country in the world they don't have a timeshare resort. And when they merge VHI and RCI together October 1st, look out, Jack, because then we'll have like over 1,000 resorts. I mean, that's fantastic. So you go right through the, show them different places all in the world, point out some places they always wanted to go. I always go and show them the ones near their home. For example, if these people were from New York, then I would show them all the ones up in the Poconos and, the Playboy Club. See, everybody knows of the Playboy Club. If you ever get anybody from Philly, New Jersey, New York, which I'll say, I'd venture to say 20% of our owners are from that area, then then always show them those areas, like the Playboy Club. See, everybody knows the Playboy Club. And you show them in there where it was, and it's no longer the Playboy Club. It's now time sharing. It's called Americana Lake Geneva Resort. They can relate to that. They feel like something as big as the Playboy Club is now time sharing. I guess you would say it's credibility. Then you show them something up in that area. Now, if I get them from New York, I'll usually talk about the difference between a right to use and a deeded one. Because the Playboy Club is a right to use. They charge almost $5,000 up there for a 12-year right to use. If you go to Tree Props at Fernwood, which is in the Poconos, their red weeks, 2 bedrooms are $11,500. That's bottom line too. They try to get 13 out of them. But $11,500 for a 26-year right to use. If you go to Wild Acres, which is a hunting lodge in the Poconos, it's $9,000 for a 21-year right to use. 21 or 26 years. But anyway, the people, when you're saying right to use, then you have to explain to them what right to use is. Now, what a right to use is, for example, let's say they bought a Tree Props at Fernwood. It's $11,500 for 26-year right to use. That means they don't own anything. They have the right to go there on vacation or belong to this exclusive club for the next 20 years to exchange in luxury condominiums all around the world. But let's assume that you went up there and bought one of those, and you owned it for 16 years, and you decided to sell it. You're only selling somebody 10 more years of a vacation. So you take way less money than you actually paid for it. But if you buy here and you own this and 16 years later, could you imagine what this property would be worth 1.5 miles from the front door of Disney World? Because you're not going to be Epcot 2, Epcot 3. I mean, this is boom area USA. Well, you'd be selling this at whatever the going rate is at that time because whoever buying it has it for a lifetime. So that's like comparing apples to oranges. Okay, so you definitely never want to get involved with right to use. The only people who buy right to use don't know about the deed. Okay, and actually between you and I, we're selling a hell of a thing. We're selling $7,600 summer weeks forever. And those beautiful units. And if you go up there, I remember 2 people who used to work here stopped at Tree Trots Farmers. When they went in there, they said they were selling them like crazy. Because the Yankees just come in there and just thought that was fantastic to pay that $11,000 and get that for 26 years. So, I mean, it can't even compare to what we got. Now, anyway, so let me erase this and go on to the next step. So when you're painting your pictures, like as far as it goes, I don't own this product and I've never used it. When I go to the beach, I rent where my parents stay at. They have timeshare over there, and but you better act like you own it. So you better go home and make a story, because I've told this story so much about my wife and I. We in week 29, 3rd week of July. Last year we traded it, went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, from October 10th to October 17th. The reason why we went then is because all the leaves were all different colors, and you know, I like this. We don't get the fall down here. Y'all get it up there, but in other words, you go in and paint your dream, and then you tell them about, you know, when you checked in the room, how tired you were in the jacuzzi with a bottle of champagne, and how you have to paint these pictures. If you can't paint the picture, then you ain't gonna sell. I mean, you're not good enough. You know what I'm saying? You got to paint a picture. It's not a lie. You're an actor. You're just an actor. You're telling a story. The story sounds good. You get emotionally up. They buy, and then they can go turn those stories into reality. Okay? But anyway, you have to have them believe that you own it. So that's something that y'all have to do individually. You know, you make your own stories, your own pictures, whatever. I know a lot of you already do own it. It's really true. But I paint my pictures in the book, and then I show them places to go in Silver Lake. And I would say spend at least 15 minutes in that book going over the RCI and the exchange. Okay? Now, I really should have brought it in when I could have went over, but we'll do it later. Now you have to create some urgency, okay? Now you've explained it, you've explained the exchange, you did your warm-up, but you got to put some urgency in the pitch. Now this is where I bring in my $1,000 off on the first visit. And this is probably one of the most important things. If you don't do the $1,000 off up front, you're dead. You can't do it in the model or the back end. I mean, it's pressure. Up front, you're explaining it. On the back end, it's pressure. Anywhere else. So I go into that, and I use this as urgency. Now, how you do this, as I'll say, after I get asked myself, okay, Joe and Mary, we don't advertise on TV, or we don't run ads in the newspaper, but we spend over 40 cents on our dollar in advertising. Now, how we do that is we have a company. Cool. Okay. As you see, we made a little mistake there. But anyway, Clyde asked a question while y'all were out, and that was how many things I show them in the RCI book. Well, the answer to the question is I always show them where we went last year, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I always show them where we're going this year, to the Bahamas. And I always show them a couple, like I have a brochure on Big Canoe, which happens to be 1,000 acres, 3 lakes, lakes, golf. I mean, an unbelievable resort. And in fact, there's resorts out in Colorado that knock your eyes out. For example, Gerald Ford owns 4 weeks of timeshare. There's resorts out there, ski weeks that sell for $20,000, $25,000, and people buy them, and they're glad to own them because they're unbelievable. When you get out, like when I travel the United States, I try to stop in and see timeshare resorts. Now, you know, there's of course some that aren't all that nice, but I'm telling you, they're building some now that are absolutely unbelievable. Okay, now let's get back into urgency. Now, we don't advertise on TV, and we don't run ads in newspapers. Wait a minute, back up, I'm specific. I started this a while ago, but I'm just act like it's brand new again. All right, we're going into urgency. I say, Joe and Mary, we don't advertise on TV, or we don't run ads in newspapers, but we spend over 40 cents on our dollar in advertising. Now, how we do that, we have a company. In fact, they're the people that brought you here, and the name of that company is called Transworld, and they're our advertising company or our marketing firm. We pay them a fee to bring you here for 90 minutes. How do they do that? Well, they got booths in all these motels, just like they got you at the Days Inn. Well, we're at International House of Pancakes. We're all over town in gas stations, grocery stores, all the hotels. And we got guys and girls, and they're flagging you over like this. Come here, come here. Just like they got you. And they'll be going, yeah, yeah. And they'll say, come out and look at our resort for 90 minutes, and we'll give you free Disney tickets or free luggage or whatever. Well, obviously, we have something to sell. That's why we can afford to, send people out here. So what happened is we pay them $118 for everybody they bring in the door. That's why we pay them just to be able to talk to you today. Now, we see 100 people a day. That means our developer spends $11,800 every day on advertising without selling a week. In other words, we're not guaranteed that we're going to sell anything, but our developer's willing to spend this kind of money every day. Now, obviously, we're selling them, or we surely wouldn't be here very long. We'd be here about 2 or 3 days, and we close down. Every day of these 100 people we have come in, we have 20 to 25 weeks sold. Why? Because 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 people in the program we have here fits their lifestyle, they can afford it, and they would use it. The other 75 to 80, it's just not, everything doesn't fit together. Either they're campers, they can't afford it, or just not for them, because it's not for everybody. Joe and Mary, it might not be for you. But since we mass market this product, we cannot afford to see the same people over and over again. So what our developer does, he offers a first visit incentive, or first visit sale. What we do is we give $1,000 off the regular bank appraisal price of the week. In other words, that's what the sale price is, on the first visit and the first visit only. Now, why would we do that? Why would our developer do that? He's a millionaire. He didn't get to be a millionaire by giving everybody $1,000. Why he does that is an incentive to get you or get people at the end of the presentation to say, yes, we want it, or no, we don't. Not that we want to come and think about it, come back 3 or 4 days, because we just can't afford to see people over and over again. So really, all I'll ask you, Joe and Mary, at the end, when we're finished, if it's something, leave it for a yes or a no. Does that sound fair enough? They'll always go, okay. If they say no, like I had one yesterday, when I said, all I really ask you for at the end is an honest yes or an honest no. Is that fair enough? The man said, yeah, and the woman said, no, I could never do that. I said, well, just give me a no then. Just give me a no at the end. But I said, you're 40 years old. You didn't get to be 40 years old without making a decision, without being able to see the program. Let me finish the program. I'll just ask you for an honest yes or honest no. Is that fair enough? She said, well, okay. Why couldn't they give you a yes or no at the end? They'll always tell you they will, okay? And the main reason why she said no is because they were so poor. They were nice people from Kansas. But when it got down to the end, they wanted it, but the $1,000 down, it would take them 6 to 9 months to save it up. So that's why she said no, and asked, in other words, don't let that phase you. 19 out of 20 will say yes, and they'll give you a yes or no. In fact, I have to say, since I've been doing this, I've never got a maybe. I want to think about it. It's always a yes or no, okay? So if you do this, you do it right, it works. Now, that's urgency, because that's $1,000 you're not going to offer again. My tour is also over now. Okay, my front end, excuse me. And what I do now is I go into the movie. But before I go in the movie, this is the next thing I do to create more urgency. I say, you see those glass doors over there, and I'm pointing to the ones that go out back. I say, I'll meet you out there in 1 minute. I'm going to put my books up and meet you out there in 1 minute. So I get up and put my books up, and then they'll walk out on the porch, and then I walk out on the porch with them. And this is where I really create the urgency. Okay, this is really better than the $1,000 off. Okay, this really doesn't create urgency, not like what I'm, but, all right, what I do is I look at the property, I say, now look at this beautiful piece of property. You're sitting right on a lake in the middle of 200 acres of oranges. Now let me tell you a little about our resort. We're going to put our resort here on approximately 30 acres of oranges here in the middle. We're going to build 12 buildings right around the lake, and we're going to have approximately 40 buildings, 12 around the lake and 28 out in the grove. Now you happen to be at the right place at the right time, Joe and Mary. And they'll look over to you and you say, you know why? Because we just started here. Actually, you see that building over there? All our buildings will look exactly like that. The first, we got 3 going right next to tennis courts. See where they're building them over there, the ground be done? One will go right next to tennis court, one will go there, and one will go there. We're selling them now for people to come back and use next year. They'll be completed approximately December 15th, and you can start using them after January the 1st. The reason why I'm saying you're here at the right place at the right time, do you think when we sell these first ones, and we keep going through over the years building more, do you think the price will go up or the price will go down? And they'll all say the price will go up, and I'll say, sure it will. You've got labor costs going up, materials going up, the price of the land is going up around here. Besides, they're just normal price increases that the developer has anyway. So the price will go up. So what you'll be doing is you'll be paying the cheapest price, and you know what? You're going to get the best location because your unit is going to be sitting right over there on the lake. And let's assume that you own the first week of August, and 10 years later you're selling yours, and somebody else owns one back in the orange grove, and I come in to buy, and if y'all both have the same week, I'm going to buy the first week of August on the lake because it's better. So you're at the right place at the right time. And they'll go, yep. And then you say, okay, come with me. Now, all my urgency is finished with right there. You don't know how many people I've had at the end where they said, well, I'm glad we're getting in now because they're getting on the ground floor. Because you create an urgency. Why do they want to think about it? They want to buy it if they want it, believe me. The only people that won't buy it is people that can't afford it or the product's not really for them. You will sell. You'd be surprised how many more people you'll sell if you'll just go through this basic outline and shut every door as you go through because you're trying to get everything closed in their brain so at the end they buy it if it's affordable. Okay? Now, so that is where you go to urgency. Okay, so now we've done a warm-up. We went into the problem or the need, rising motel bills. We went into the solution, how buying a week of a condominium and so forth. And then we went into exchange, how you don't have to go to the same place every year, you trade it all around. And then we just throw the urgency right on the top, okay? By this time, you got them ready to go. All right, now I take my people into the movie. I show all my people the movie. Now, just because I do all this don't mean you have to do it, but I feel like the movie, let me show you why I show everybody the movie. First of all, I've just told them everything. Now somebody that even though they might not like him, George Kennedy, they respect him or he's a movie star, he's not going to put his name on the line if the program's not right. It's just more credibility, okay? And plus, you're able to put them in there, they're able to watch this beautiful, that movie will throw emotion in them because they'll see, snow skiing and parents with their children and, old people out, you'll hit them whatever age bracket that movie will get them. And then it also gives you a break, or gives me a break to get away from them because I've just been with them about 45 minutes and I've been bum, and it gives me a time, that's when I go to the bathroom and unload some coffee, or I wash my face, or get me some more coffee, or I like to bullshit with everybody in there, we feed sales and feed off bullshit. But anyway, whatever. So then I go into the movie. Now, the movie's over. After the movie's over, I bring them out. And I'll tell you, it's a good thing to say a little line as you're leaving them in the movie. Like if I have a man and wife in there and they're the only ones in there, I'll say, okay, as I'm walking out, I'll say, all right, I'm going to turn the light off now, no kissing or hugging. Something just get them a little laughy, because little things like that all through your picture will get them up to where they buy. Okay, so now the movie's over. Now the property tour. What I do is when I leave the trailer where we do our selling, I come over and I tour the clubhouse, the pool area, and then the model. So I leave the trailer and I come in, I show them the lobby of the clubhouse, where they would check in. We're also going to have some rugs down there that are the shape of those flowers on the wall. Point that out, that's nice. Show them this is where you check in, get your key, go to your condominium. I show them where the computer game room is, the little gift shop. I tell them what we're doing up here. In fact, when I'm walking from that old dog pen of a trailer over there up here, I always say, you see that large social hall up there in the top? And they go, yeah. I say, we're going to be selling out there. We're going to run our sales operation in there in the daytime from 7 to 3. and then at night it'll be for the owners. I can't wait to get rid. We're going to tear this old trailer down, get rid of this old dog pen. Can you imagine? We'll be up there selling, looking down in the pool, looking over at the lake. We'll have a view of the orange groves. They'll be building all those buildings. I just can't wait till it gets like that. And they'll go, oh yeah, that sounds nice. The reason why is that trailer is a disgrace. If you, I hate to have a deal and the guy goes, can I use your bathroom? I'm scared he'll go in and say, God damn, if you keep the bathroom like this, what's my unit going to look like, in a year or two? So let them know that trailer's leaving. Because that's, you want the place to look nice. We'll shake things up here shortly. But anyway, so now I go on my property tour. As I go into the clubhouse, lobby clubhouse, I always walk my people through the bathroom. I'll say, Mary, you go with that door, and we can take them in there and come out the other side, through the bathrooms out, and then you show them where the showers are, and then you show them the seat or sauna. The reason why I do that, it makes the clubhouse feel bigger. To walk them through all these halls and doors, and then there's a sauna, and then I walk them out over to the pool, show them the kiddie pool and the big pool, and I just stop there for a minute and I say, now look at this, Joe, Mary. Look at this beautiful pool. Look at it. This orange grove is beautiful. You see, we live in Florida. We take that for advantage. We take advantage of it. It doesn't really mean that much to us. It is pretty to me, but I'll tell you what, if you come out of Brooklyn or the Bronx or Philly or Pittsburgh, that damn lake right there looks like $1 million. They lucky to get a tree, much less a whole orange grove. That's the truth. And the only water they're going to get is a fire hydrant busted, and the kids is, think they're in a swimming pool or something. So they see that lake and everything is beautiful to them. But anyway, and I stop and I say, look there, and I say, now, stop and think about something. You're staying on International Drive. When you go through that rat race at Disney World, Epcot, it's another rat race just to get back to your room. It takes them people a half hour to get down to International Drive. And then they get in their room, and they go back and they check into a room which is 400 square feet. Ain't much bigger than our master bedroom, their motel room. They got to haul their kids in there. They look out the window, they're looking in the parking lot. They're hearing noise all day and all night. I said, could you imagine leaving Disney Epcot, coming 1.5 miles in the middle of a beautiful orange grove, checking into a luxury condominium overlooking the lake? This property absolutely will be worth a gold mine. It's worth a lot of money now. But think about this area in 15 or 20 years. Really, think about it. I've been here 1 year, and I can't believe what the hell's happened in Orlando. They are building hotels and motels and shopping centers and housing subdivisions everywhere. And this is a beautiful piece of property, 1.5 miles from the front door. And I guarantee you'll come back here in 15 years, you'll be doing something, you'll be somewhere else in the country selling something, whatever, and you'll come back and see Epcot 3, and you'll drive down in here and say, I'm going to check old Westgate out where I used to, and you'll come in here, and these weeks, in 10 or 12 years, I'm assuming, will probably sell for 18 or 20,000. I don't know why they're getting that over in Sanibel Island right now for them. Some of you people work on the West Coast. Even if they didn't go up a dime, the people got a great deal, but I'm saying this is a hell of a piece of property. And in fact, every resort that I know of in town, and I've been to them all, and I could work at any one I wanted to go to, I choose to be here because I feel this property is absolutely the best. I'll give you an example. I mentioned a few people before. I had a guy here a couple weeks ago, and he was a Jewish guy from New York. He was a letter carrier, postman, and he was from Brooklyn. And him and his wife, and they had the spoilest baby I've ever seen. I couldn't control the baby. And so they sat down, and Barry went up and said, man, get that baby out of here. It's going to blow sales. And I said, well, they're strokers anyway, because right when I sat down, the guy said, look, I've been to Orange Lake, I've been to Vistana, I've been to Polynesian Isle, I've been to Magic Tree, I've been to Orbit, and why don't you just show me your model and show me your prices? So Barry came over and told me to get the kid out, so I just walked out. I said, look, let me just go on up here and get your gift. You're not interested in this stuff anyway. And his wife said, no, we're really interested. And I said, well, come on, let me show you the model. I said, when are you going home? They said, tomorrow. I said, well, are you going to buy this shit or not? He said, yeah. And I said, we're going to have to buy it today. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, then where are you going to go buy it? He goes, well, of all the places I've seen, I'm going to go back to Polynesian Isle and buy it because they have beautiful models and they have the cheapest price. Okay, and if anybody knows anything about Polynesian Isle, they definitely have beautiful models, absolutely gorgeous, and they definitely have the best price. Okay, because they're cheaper than ours. They were $800 cheaper than I sold it from. Was it $800 or $1,200? 76. They were $800 cheaper than what I sold it to. So what happened? I walked down there and showed him the model, and I said, look, the cheapest you buy this is $1,042 down, $141.98. I'm standing right out here in the parking lot after I showed him the model. This was like 10 minutes after I had the guy, 10 or 15 minutes. And I said, how do you want to handle the down payment? It's $1,000. How do you want to handle it? Credit card, check, or what? And he looked. You see, I went right for the close on him. I didn't ask him, did he want it or not want it? You go for the close. How do you want to handle the down payment? I boxed him in right here. He goes, well, I guess I can put on a credit card. But he goes, give us a minute. Let me and my wife walk down here to the mall and we'll come out and give you an answer. I said, okay. And I said, you told me you're going to go to Polynesian Isles, so you're either going to buy here or Polynesian Isles, right? He said, yeah. And I said, well, let me tell you why I would buy here. Polynesian Isles, beautiful resort. They got nice people working over there. A lot of them are my friends. They got gorgeous malls and great prices. But let me tell you something. You're buying a resort on that side of I-4 where all the hotels are $40, $35, $40 a night. And it's sitting right on 192, right on the highway, and there's a trailer park that owns land next to it. Would you rather own down there, or would you rather own a condo like that on a lake in the middle of 200 acres of oranges on this side of I-4 where the rooms are 50 and up? It's location, location, location. Why are you paying $400 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, and if you went to Manhattan, you pay $1,000? He said, that's a good point. He went to the mall, he came back 5 minutes later, and they came in and bought for the full down payment deal. In other words, that's off the track of what I should be doing here, but the point I'm trying to make is we definitely are at the right location to sell this product. If there was a better one, I would be there, okay? Now, all right, so now we're going on property choice. So for the clubhouse, the pool, the so forth, I go to the model. Now, I go down to the model. When I walk them in the model, I always say the same as I'm going in the door. I say, now, before I go show you this, I want you to picture yourself back at the Days Inn, or Holiday Inn, wherever. They'll picture that little dinky room with the dirty carpet and whatever. And you walk in there, and let me tell you something, that model's breathtaking, especially for somebody. First time I saw it, it took me out. I mean, we walk in it every day, and we forget. You see, we forget. We forget that they're coming from that motel room into this. That's why they go, I mean, my guy saw today, he couldn't change it. Boy, I ain't never seen nothing like this. He said, I seen the only thing I seen like this was on TV. And I said, that's right. This is the blue-collar way. He was happy to do blue-collar work. He was a maintenance man. If he was an accountant, I'd say this is the white-collar way, whatever. But I say, this is a blue-collar way of vacation like the millionaires. He said, sure enough. And he looked at it, he was tickled to death. But anyway. All right, so anyway, this is how I do my, when you tour that model, let me tell you, I've had people that I didn't think was going to buy anything. Then they go on the model and it absolutely blows their mind and they buy it. Okay, well anyway, you go on the model. I always try to go in the kitchen first. The best thing to do is watch where other salespeople are touring. I mean, you don't want to go in the master bedroom. If you go on the model and there's somebody in the master bedroom and somebody in the guest bedroom and nobody else in there, don't go in the master bedroom or the guest bedroom. Go somewhere where there's nobody else set. I can't believe how many times I've been in the master bedroom and people bring another unit in there and there's nobody else in the whole damn model. Okay, well anyway, you go and you try to follow the flow where you're always in a room by yourself, where you're in control. They're not distracted by other people. I always try to start with the kitchen first. Okay, and when I'm explaining RCI, the solution and so forth like that, that's why I also bring in the maintenance fee and your taxes and so forth. You know, the other things you have to bring, the $52 exchange. Now, when I go into the kitchen, I say, look at this kitchen, washer, dryer, show them all the pots and pans and everything. And I'll say, now, let me tell you a little story. Now, I'll tell you why, because a lot of these women are thinking, no, he thinks I might cook if I have to have a kitchen. You'd be surprised how many think like that. And that's a door you got to close, or you close it first. This is how you do it. I say, now, when we went to Tennessee, my wife said to me, I love a two-bedroom condominium, but I'll be damned if I'm doing any cooking, because I've been cooking all year, and this is vacation. I want to cook on vacation. I said, honey, that's all right. I wouldn't expect you to. Then when we got up there, she said, oh, I didn't know the kitchen was this nice. Why don't we have our breakfast here and then start our day after that? And I said, well, you know, it is a lot easier. Instead of getting up and taking a shower, rushing out to Denny's and waiting in line and paying $4 or $5 for breakfast, it wouldn't be easier to get up and have breakfast here. My wife would have her roll once she made the eggs. I'd relax, watch Good Morning America, then take a shower. And they'll be agreeing with you. The woman's going, yeah. When I said, when I first told them that my wife said she ain't gonna do no cooking, the woman's going, yeah. And then when I'm telling them about, you know, it'd be easier to have breakfast, the woman's going, yeah. You see, you open the door, you're closing them doors all the way through. Okay, so, and then also you bring up this example of how much money they can save. For me, my wife, my little baby to go out and have breakfast is about $8 or $9. We leave a $1 tip, so it's at least $10. If you do that for 7 days, it's $70. But you know what? I gave my wife $20. She went down and bought 3 gallons of milk, 3 dozen eggs, 3 things of bacon, bread, orange juice, and margarine, and we ate breakfast for all week. Actually, it was $18 and something. So instead of spending 70, we spent 20. We saved $50 on breakfast. We ended up having a couple dinners and a couple lunches, and we went out to eat too, whatever we felt like doing. But this kitchen saved us more than our maintenance fee. So in reality, you're not paying a maintenance fee if you look at the whole scope. And they agree with you, and it is the truth. If they save $130 on their food, then they didn't pay a maintenance fee. You know what I'm saying? It balances it out. Okay, so you really have to compare what they had. And like the people I had today, my God, the man, they had 3 kids, and there was 5 of them. And for breakfast this morning, that man told me he spent $27 at International House of Painting, you know, about $5 a piece. And I told her, I said, how much you think you cook it for? She said, no more than $5 or $6. So they would have saved $20. Do that in a week, 7 days is $140 just on breakfast. You see, so actually, if you look at the whole scope, you're giving these people a hell of a deal. Besides the extra luxury and, you know, the overall financial part of it. Okay, now, so that's the kitchen tour. Then I go into the guest bedroom. I'm showing the guest bedroom, the dual sinks. If they got kids, you point out like, hey, your kids won't be fighting over the brushing the teeth. Each of them have a sink. You know, little whatever, you adapt to whatever your people, you know, you adapt to their situation. And then I go out and show them the living room, how the couch folds out. I always have them sit down if there's nobody in there in those little chairs, because those are the most comfortable. I say, sit down in a little chair. That's the ugliest chair, but it sure feels good. And they've been walking out in that hot sun, so any chair is going to feel good. And they sit down there and go, oh, it sure does. But then I get them, you know, show them, and I say, look, 25-inch remote control color TVs. I mean, you know, at your motel, you got those. I mean, this is class, man. And you point out that furniture in there. That is expensive furniture. By God, if you want cheap furniture, go to Orange Lake. They got, I used to work down there. They got 19-inch TVs. They're not even remote control. And those couches out there couldn't cost more than $35 or $40. And the couches in there we got, man, I've had people that sold furniture that have come in there and said, oh my God, they put this here in there? All very expensive wicker furniture. I mean, you know, we spent a lot of money. Our developers spent a lot of money on nice stuff. That TV, that's not a $250, $300 TV. That's a $1,000 TV if you went out and bought that TV. You know, regular 20. So our units, they have luxury and point that out because they own all that personal property. When they pay $7,600 per week, they own all that furniture too. They bought that property with it. And you point that out in the kitchen. I'm saying, this is your toaster, your microwave oven, your TV, your couch. Then I take them out on the porch and show them out there, paint pictures. Look, man, when you come in from Disney, you know you're on that little room. Here you can sit on the porch, the kids are in here. You know, it's just so much more of a vacation. And have breakfast out here or something, looking out over the lake in the morning, read the paper before you start your day. Then I take them in the master bedroom suite. And I'll say, hell, I've been in motels not much bigger than this motel, not bigger than this master bedroom. And they'll agree with you because their motel room ain't much bigger than that master bedroom. Then they got a, you know, it usually has 2 double beds and a TV and a bathroom. Here's got the big master. But anyway, you show the beautiful room and you show the bathroom. Okay, now I've done the whole tour of the model. Now the next 2 things that I'm fixing to tell them are the 2 most important. Well, let me take them one at a time. First of all, I'll say, now let me give you an example of how nice this product is that I can in no way put into your brain. You would not be able to know this until you actually use it. But let me give you an example. 4 weeks ago, my wife and I, we have 2 kids now, we had another March 22nd. We went over to the beach over at Melbourne and we got a room at the Holiday Inn. Well, it was $75. And I'm from the old country. If I pay more than $30 a night, I can't sleep. You know, I feel like I'm wasting my money, throwing my money away. I remember when you used to get them for $8. But anyway, I said, well, I hate to pay it. My wife got mad. She said, what did you bring me over here? If you ain't going to pay $75, you should have stayed at home. And that's right. If you're going to the beach and you're going to stay in a motel, you're going to pay the price and you ain't staying. Don't worry. There's somebody else that'll take the room if you don't want it. Okay, so I paid the $75. We checked in. We went up there. We had a wonderful day. Absolutely great. Then that night, there's 3 things that happened to me that made me appreciate this product so much. The first one, when it was time to put our kids to bed, they both started crying. And when you got, one's 2.5 and one's 4 months, and it's like a chain reaction. One starts, wah, and then the other one goes, wah, and then wah, and it goes back and forth. This is the truth. That's why I can tell it so good. This is all about truth. Okay, no stories in this. But anyway, they cried for absolutely almost hours till we got the kids to bed. In fact, I feel like strangling the woman. Put the pillow over here. My wife said, "You." Anyway, so what happened? Finally, I got into bed. All right, but I was thinking if I was in my timeshare unit, I could have put my kids in their own private room. They might have cried a little bit, but I pulled the door shut. They'd go on to sleep, and I'd be out in the living room. So much more luxury than being in that little room and dealing with all this negative energy. The second thing that happened was I was watching Saturday Night Live, watching Eddie Murphy, and they were making me laugh, and, and my wife was going, turn that TV down, and pulling the sheets. Honey, go to sleep, I'm tired. Because when you're in that bedroom, everybody's got to sleep at the same time, and, one's bothering the other one. And the whole time I'm telling them this, they're agreeing because they're going through this right now. It's the truth, okay? And so what happened is if I was in a timeshare condo, Brenda, my wife, could have went in the master bedroom, laid on the bed, I'd have been out in the living room watching a remote control 25-inch TV, okay? That's the second thing that really made me appreciate this product. The third thing is, I don't know about y'all, but when I get hungry, I can't sleep. And after Saturday Night Live was over, about 11:45, I went to bed a little early because finally she was putting on the sheets. I turned the TV off, and I laid down there to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I heard, I said, oh Lord, that was my stomach. I said, oh Lord, let me go on to sleep now. As long as I wake up in the morning, I'll be fine. If you get to sleep, you won't worry about it. And I laid there about 45 minutes, and finally I couldn't sleep, so I got up and got dressed, went down to 8th. We were on the 8th floor, went down 8 floors in the elevator, got in my car, and had to drive to McDonald's. By the time I got to McDonald's, they had just closed. They closed at midnight. The guy in there sweeping going, we're closed. That's right. And I could see hamburgers still in there, But anyway, so what happened was, this is all true. And what happened, so I got in my car, and I looked way down the road, I seen a 7-Eleven. So I drove all the way down to 7-Eleven. I got me a chili dog, put it in the microwave, some barbecue Fritos, and a carton of milk. I ate all that. Got finished, went back to the motel room, snuck up back in the room, and what I was thinking of in my timeshare condo, I could have went in my kitchen, maybe some toast and butter, a glass of milk, a sandwich, and went to bed. But when I got back in the room, then my wife wakes up and says, where you been? You had to go have a drink. I told you to stay out that bar. She thought I went out and had a drink after she went to sleep. So anyway, by the timeshare condo, I never went through that, okay? These are the things that you don't really appreciate until you go this way. And once you go this way, you can never go back the other way. In fact, RCI has put out statistics of people that own this product. Out of every 100 people that own it, 73% of them had bought an additional week after they used it. Now that's a fact, and that's a strong statistic. That's telling you a lot of satisfied people. 73 out of 100 people buy an additional week. And I'll tell you, I've been doing this for a year, and I've yet to have anybody that owned it, that used it, that complained. The only time you hear negative on time sharing is you'll hear negative on salesmen that high-pressure people, high-pressure salesmen. You'll hear negative on the way that the old companies used to market it, about, advertising fancy gifts and then, giving rip-off gifts. But that was not the actual product, that was the marketing of it. Now we're eliminating these bad guys and weeding this out, and I'll tell you one thing, in the next few years I predict that you see some of the largest corporations in America get involved with interval ownership. I wouldn't doubt that if you see some of the largest hotel chains start selling their units. I think that time sharing is definitely a way of the future, and I think it's a great product. I mean, let me show you two examples. Another thing that sold me was I had a friend that I grew up with, and he called me. It was about 3 weeks ago actually, and he called me up. I'll tell you when it was. It was 4th of July, so it was a month ago. And he called me up, and he goes, hey, I'm in town for a few days. I said, what you in town for? He said, well, he brought his kids down to Disney World, and he wanted me to come out and see him. I hadn't seen him in years and years. I said, where are you staying at? He said, Fantasy World Condominium, Fantasy World Villas out on 192. So I hadn't really heard of this place yet, and I said, is that timeshare? He said, no, they're condos. So I drove out there, and he didn't really know what timeshare was, and I checked in, went to see him. Beautiful unit. It was 2-bedroom, 2-bath condominium, fully furnished, just like we're selling, but it really wasn't as nice as what we had. And I came in there and I said, man, this is nice. I said, and how much do they charge a night here? He said, they're $120 a night. And I said, $120 a night you're paying? He said, look, man, I came down here last year and I paid $80 at the Holiday Inn. I only vacation once a year. I think $120 is a great deal. I got 2 bedrooms, 1 bedroom for the kids, 1 bedroom me and Barbara, the full kitchen. I'm saving a whole lot of money on food. He had a living room, and he thought it was a great deal. And then I told him, what I did, that I sold, condos for $7,000 that you could trade all around. He said, I don't know why anybody wouldn't buy that. In other words, you go to Sonesta Village up there, which is a brand new condominium, right on Turkey Lake Road and I-4. And I thought they sold those condominiums, to people to live in. And I stopped there to look at them, for maybe buying some of the investment. And I stopped there and the girl said, oh no, we don't sell these, we rent these out. And I said, oh yeah, they rent them by the night. condos, 2-bedroom, 2-bath furnished condos that they're renting. And I said, well, who are you renting to? She says, we're booked 100%. I said, who's renting? She goes, well, we do advertising in New York and Philly and Canada, and those people come down. Instead of staying at motels, they want to rent condos. I said, well, and they were building them like crazy, man, building them everywhere out there. And I said, well, what do you rent them for? $120 a night. I would do anything to get to talk to those people. We said, every one of them, my God, they buy this thing in 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean, with what they're paying to rent. So what you're doing is if you had somebody paying $120, and I know we don't really get to talk to those people very often, they would buy this thing in 6 or 7 years what they spend in a motel, so they'd be a laydown. Now we're not talking to that class of people, but when they find out about timeshare and all those people are going to buy it, they're not going to pay $120 a night rent when they could buy it when they find out about it. I know we're selling people, in the $40 to $50 to $60 motel range, but you know what? Those are the people that need it the most. They're the ones that you need to do a favor. They're the ones, let me tell you why. When I sell these people, by God, and I tell you, I've had 2 people in the last week that I sold that I can't believe it. I saw one guy, he went to Bahamas. When he got to Bahamas, he called me and said, Jim, we want to thank you. This is a God's truth. Last Sunday night, a guy called me up that I sold last week. He was from Washington. He went to Bahamas for a week. He called me up and thanked me on the telephone from Bahamas for selling him that week out here. Because he was staying next to a timeshare unit down there, and there were $9,000 for 21-year right to use. And he said it was beautiful, but he was talking about how he wanted to vacation this way in the future and how he thought he got such a good deal here, owning near Disney World, deeded property for $7,600. And I just want to buy that. He's called me. All of a sudden, long distance operator, this is Orlando, Florida? And I said, oh Lord, it's my guy in Grenada canceled, And I said, how did you get my home number? Anyway, I said, yeah, they go, well, this is on the Bahamas. And the guy got on the phone and told me, I couldn't believe it. I had another guy just left in here Monday that I sold. He was so tickled to death to own this that he was just flabbergasted. When he seen me, he was going, Jim, I'm so happy because I feel so, there's certain people out there. Now what happens is how we get down a lot of times is we go through rejection. I'll tell you one thing, everybody sitting in this room selling this product, you're bad. You're bad or you wouldn't be here. When I say bad, that's good. In other words, it takes a hell of an individual to sell this product. What you have to do is you have to be able to take rejection, okay? You have to be able to take it, but don't let it get into your head. Like the way I try to sell to people is sell it to them. If they can use it, they can afford it, they like it, buy it. If not, be done with them and go on to your next one. But if you get 4, 5, or 10 ups in a row, or you go a week and you don't sell, you're not selling. People are saying, well, we didn't use it, we don't like it. So all of a sudden you think the product's no good because you're not selling it. But let me tell you something, the product's there, you're just talking to the wrong people. But if you keep working, and you do this formula, you'll get enough right ones that, that in the long run, you'll be making $40,000 to $60,000 a year. But you have to always, keep your attitude positive because the product that you are selling is definitely good, okay? Now, we've done the property tour now. Now the close. I close them in the model. I close them in the back end, but this is the most important statement of the whole presentation. After you've done your whole tour, and I've done the whole thing in the model, and I just told my last little story about the Holiday Inn. This is what you say. Joe and Mary, if this is something I could make affordable for you today, does this look like something you'd like to own and vacation this way in the future? All they can say is yes or no. 9 out of 10 will say yes. Yeah, if I can afford it, I'll own a vacation plan for you. Okay, come with me, let me show you the prices. So when I'm coming down here into that room, I am coming in there for one reason and one reason only. To see, can they afford the down payment or the monthly payment? Can they afford to buy it? Nothing else. I'll never get to the back end and say, do you want it or don't? Hell no, they told me they wanted it in the model if they could afford it. But they don't even, you hooked them in a closing statement, they don't even know it. So you just do it like you're fishing. So you start to hook a little bit, bait them, reel them in. So you've laid the bait. Joe and Mary, if this was something that I could make affordable for you today, does this look like something you'd like to own and vacation this way in the future? If they say yes, you say, come on with me, let me show you the prices. If they say no, then you say, why not? Now, I'll tell you, out of 10 people, I'll only get one that says no. And I'll say, why? And you go, well, I would never use, I don't know. You're going to get some that just say, well, I camp every year. Whatever the problem is. But if they say no, then you do not want to go from the model to closing room because how are you going to sell it if they told you no? You got to find out why. So you say, why? And then they'll tell you why they wouldn't want to own it today if it's affordable. And then you try it, because a lot of times it'll be an objection that you can handle or you can overcome right there on the spot. So you have to overcome that objection before you go to the next step. In other words, that's the door that you have to close before you come in for the final one. But most all your people that will buy will say yes. In fact, the deal I had today, the woman said yes, and the guy said, well, I don't know. And I said, what do you mean you don't know? It really depends on the price, right? If the son was affordable, you like, no. And he goes, yeah, I guess it was affordable. Like, no. He says, I had to sort of mold him into it. But then they both told me. I brought him in. Now you're coming back into the pitching room, and you're coming for one thing. When I walk up those stairs back in that door, if you ever see me walk in there, it's just to see can they afford to buy it. If they can't, I don't even walk in there with them. You know, I send them up to the trailer. Now, here's the close. How you set the close up is probably the most important thing of the whole presentation. And I'm going to go over this again one day next week, but let me go over it now, how we do it. Because this is very important. In fact, if you tunnel them down right, you'd be surprised how many more sales you can get. And I'll tell you, I have to say that 1 out of 4 of your deals will be made the way you take care of this right here at the very end, okay? Because the whole decision to buy this or not buy it is just an emotional thing. In other words, it's a very thin line to whether they buy it or not. Once they say, okay, I own it, all of a sudden, hey, we bought it, we go, you know? Or they say they don't own it. There's a thin line between everything. There's a thin line between love and hate. There's a thin line with chocolate candy. Chocolate candy's good, but eat too much of it, you get sick. There's a thin line, and then buying this or not buying it. You're right on the fence, and you got to get them to drop this way. And you have to steer them down into a closing question, okay? And this is how I do my close. I bring them in, I sit them down at the table, I show them the weeks, the schedule of the weeks. When I have them pick out a week, I said, now during the summertime vacations, your point of the summer, I say, Joe and Mary, if I could give you a free week to come back here next year, what would be the best week for you to come back and stay with our resort if you could come next year, anytime you want it free? And they'll look down, and the woman will look down, and she'll say, well, August 3rd to August 10th. You know, they'll pick out a week, okay? So you say, okay, that's week 30. Then the next time I say, ooh, it's a tough week. I say, I think we're probably sold out that week because that's a high demand week. But let me just show you the prices anyway. So you do a little takeaway there. Let me show you the prices. So you work out the prices. I say, okay, now you show them on the prices. The bank appraises from week 24 to 35. The bank appraises for $10,000. Now we give, so that's the cost, $10,000. And pause there for a second. So now the cost is $10,000. But we give $1,000 off on the first visit only, which that makes it $9,000. Okay? Then I pull that sheet back out. Do you remember when we first started, we show how $7,000? I say, you remember, Joe and Mary, when we were talking, we took somebody $50 a night over the next 10 years from 1984 to 9, and you could never stand something like that for 50. And they go, yeah. Then you'd spend $7,000 in the next 10 years on vacation and not have anything back. But right here, you can take that same money and a little more, 9,000, so 12 or 13 years of vacation, and own this forever, and in essence have all your money back because you still own the property. I said, now do you see why we sell this so much? And they go, yeah. All right, now, you know what I mean? The way you say these things, now you see why we sell this so much. And they go, how can they not? They go, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You box their ass in all the way down. Okay, so then you say, they go, yeah, then you come to show them how they buy it. Then I flip my paper over and I say, okay, you can buy this like a car. In fact, it's cheaper than a car. In other words, you can pay cash, and I write cash out. You can put 50% down and 12% interest. Write that out. 25% down is 14.75. 20% down is 15.75. We go as low as 10% down. Well, I'm going to just tell you the way I close them, all right? The TOs might not like it, but this is the best way. Okay, we go as low as... We go as, because if you really feel at one with your people, you can do this, okay? And there's a reason why they don't want you to go. They want it at 25% where they can drop to 10 if they have to. And that's the game you have to play. And for new people, I suggest to do that. But once you've done it as long as I've done and some other people in here, and you're with them one-to-one, there ain't no games. Believe it or not, these people, there is no games because they know that I'm there to help them if they can buy it. And if they can't, I ain't. And I swear that's the truth. That's why I don't have to play all these games, okay? Now, what you do is, I say we go all the way down to 10% if they think they're poor. If I know they're poor, depending on their job or whatever. But the lower you go down, higher the interest rate. All right, but these loans are the best kind of loans that you can get because it's simple interest and there's no prepayment penalty on the mortgage. That means, let's say your monthly payment's $175 a month, and you get income tax check back and you send us $1,175. $175 goes to payment, $1,000 will pay the loan down. Okay? In other words, there's no prepayment penalty paid off any time early. They go, okay. It's fully assumable if you ever sell it. But let me give you an example. Well, usually what I'll do is split the paper and I'll say, now I'll work you out an example. What kind of example would you like me to show you? And then they'll point to 20% or 25 or whatever. Sometimes I'll just say, let me show you 20. It depends on what kind of job they have. If the guy's an engineer and she's a nurse, I know they can put 25% down. So I'll say, what would you like me to show? And I'll let them tell me. If the guy's a maintenance man like I had this morning, she was a secretary, their income was lower, then I just said, let me show you 20%, we can go down. We ended up having to go, you know what I mean? You have to adjust this to whoever you have. But let's assume that this guy works for the hospital and she works for a telephone company and they make him $40,000, okay? I'm going to say, let me show you what 20% down looks like. Okay, the bank appraisal for $10,000. I write that on top of my purchase proposal. Then you write $9,000, you know, where you have the sales price, okay? Then you say you take a down payment of 20%, that's $1,800. That leaves a loan amount of $7,200, which is $174.14 or $140.93. Okay, this is 7 years, and this is 5 years. Okay. Now you also have, and then I'll write 211, 59, 9, 10. Okay, total down payment. Now this, if you follow this system of boxing them in, I tell you what, it works beautifully, okay? Now, another thing is Mario and the Teals, they're going to tell you always to show 5 years. Now, if you're new, maybe you want to stay with that. But I really feel that this is better, and so I'm going to go ahead and show it. This is my take. Okay, now, I show them 20% down. I say, this is how I go over it. I'm looking at the sheet. I'll say, now the bank appraised the weeks for $10,000, okay? Let's assume, now you're buying it $1,000 off on the first visit, so you're buying it for $9,000. Let's assume in this example you took an $1,800 down payment, your real estate closing costs and title insurance, because you're buying, you know, Florida real estate, you have to get that, and your RCI membership for 2 years makes a total down payment of $2,070. Now, your loan amount, $9,000 minus 18, your loan amount is $7,200. If you pay it off in 5 years, your monthly savings is $174.14. If you pay it off in 7 years, it's $140.93. Now, I know, Joe and Mary, you're thinking, why in the heck is he calling those savings? We call them bills where we come from. They'll laugh a little bit. But you say, your light bill's a light bill, a gas bill's a gas bill. But the reason why I call this a monthly savings is because you're making a monthly payment into buying a condominium 1 mile from Disney World. You own the property, so once this thing is paid for, in essence, you've saved your money because you own the condo, plus you get a free vacation every year. So what would be the best program for you to begin with? The 5-year program or the 7? Shut the hell up and don't say another word until they give you an answer. Now, most of the time, the answer would be 7. Some will say, well, it doesn't matter, 5 or 7. Then I say, well, let me suggest that you start with 7. The reason why I suggest 7 is because these have no prepayment penalty. Let's assume you started at $140 a month, but you went back home and in 45 days when your payment started, you started paying $174. It'd just be paid off in 5. You see, you can send in any amount over the monthly payment and it pays this loan off early, but if money's tight 1 month, you could get away with paying $140. And they'll agree with you, okay. Now, what has just happened here? When I loaded this question, what is the best payment plan for you? The 5-year program or the 7? You see, I tunneled them all the way down. So let's say they say 7. Okay, I say fine. Now come over here. $2,070, your initial deposit. Do you have access to these funds when you get home? Do you have access to these funds when you get home? I tunneled them right down again. All they can tell me is yes, we have access, or no, we don't. Either way they answer yes or no, your job is done. It doesn't matter. If they say yes, we have access to these funds, then what I did, I just closed them at $9,000. So if they say yes, I'll say, let me ask you something, Joe. Would y'all be using it between now and December? Oh, you mean this year? No, we wouldn't be using it. Well, could you use it starting January after next year? And they'll go, yeah. And you say, oh, then let me show you the inventory of the new buildings across the lake, but I think that's really what you should have. Then you get up and you go get your TO. You go to your TO and you say, Bob or whoever it is, the monthly payment's affordable, the down payment's affordable. Just come in and do the drop and the deal, boom. And they're already closed at 9. You come in and drop them at 76, man, they roll over and bar. Because then the TO takes over. Now let's assume that you came in here and you said, do you have access to these funds when you get home? They said no. They can only say yes or no. That's it. That's the only thing they can say. Do they or don't they? If they say no, then you say, so basically what you're telling me, the monthly payment's comfortable, it's the down payment's a problem. And they'll go, yeah, that's exactly what my people did today. Exactly. So I said, by the way, would you be using it this year between now and December? Exactly the same thing. Whether it's a yes or a no, you don't change anything. By the way, would you be using it this year between now and December? No. Could you give up use and not use it until starting? Oh yeah, we're on vacation now anyway. Then you get up and go to Bob or whoever the TO and you say, look, they can afford the $140 a month, the down payment problem, come in, do the drop from 9 to 76. What happens? Bob Jordan will come in and drop this to $7,600, which will make the down payment $1,042. Since you've dropped the cost of this unit down, you've dropped the loan amount down, it makes the monthly payment $141.98. So what have you done? You kept the monthly payment exactly the same. You dropped the down payment from $2,000 to $1,000. You know what? You got a deal. You got a deal. I guarantee you. That's exactly what happened to my deal today. I went right down and filled it right out. I said, what's better, 5 or 7? The man said, well, it doesn't matter. The woman said, well, I'd rather start at 7. I said, well, that's the best way to do it anyway, because you can prepay it anyway. Then I went right here, do you have access to these funds when you get home? And they said no. So I said, well, what you're telling me is that the monthly payment's no problem, and the down payment is. They said, yeah, okay, well, would you be using it this year? You see, you're going to the same thing over and over. But if you set your clothes up here, what I mean by that, putting the 10,000, showing them the 9, showing them a down payment of 25% or 20, whatever you want to do. Or maybe it's better to go 25%. You get 9% commission. And work it down to where you have this number here on your, on your purchase proposal, and you have 5 or 7. Now, all the new people are always told only be this 25% down and this at 5 years. Now, the reason why I disagree with that, and I might get in trouble later on this, is because the reason, a logic behind that, which there is a lot of logic behind that, okay, as far as the TO is concerned. Because now the guy's looking at $174 a month for 5 years plus $2,500 down. So when the TO comes in, they drop the price, they drop the down payment, and then they can show them 5 or 7 years, you see. But the reason why I don't think that's as effective as this is because let's say that you look to them and you say 174. Then what do you say if you got 174? You say, is 174 affordable in your budget? And then they're going to say, is it affordable or ain't it affordable? I don't know, we got the new car. Then they'll start thinking, is it? And then they'll start thinking all these, well, we got the kids going to college and stuff like that. Instead of me asking them, is this affordable in your budget? I always ask them, which is best for you to start with, the 5-year or the 7-year? I didn't ask them whether it was affordable, which is the best for the budget. You see, the way I ask the question, I think it's more effective. Because they can only say 5 or 7. I'll tell you what, this right here, this system, and I'll tell you, this is what the TOs need. Because if you've got them set up this way, it'll make their job so much easier. I mean, the last thing I want to do if I ever start TOing deals is come in and not have a purchase proposal filled out, or have it filled out. I probably won't TO the damn deal. I'm not going to sit in there for 30 or 40 minutes like some of these guys do and try to talk these people into buying because we didn't set it up right. Because this is the easiest thing to do, and I'll tell you what, this is so easy to do, I don't know why we're not all doing it. Now let's go over it again. You write the 9,000, the 10,000, the 9,000, you show them what the down payment looks like. And then you show them the monthly payment over 5 or 7 years. You just work, and then you turn the paper around and you show it to them. And you got your pen. And you say, okay, the bank appraised them for $10,000. You get the first visit of $9,000, $1,000 under bank appraisal. If you took a down payment of $1,800, your closing costs and title insurance, your RCI membership for 2 years makes a total of $2,070. That's your total down payment. This would be your loan amount. $9,000 minus 18 is $7,200. If you paid it in 5 years, your monthly savings is $174.14, Mary and Joe. If you paid it in 7 years, it's $140.93. Now, a lot of people joke with me and say, Jim, we don't call these monthly savings. These are bills where we come from. And I say, well, a light bill's a light bill, a gas bill's a gas bill. But here, you're making a monthly payment, you're buying a condominium 1 mile from Disney World. You own the property, so in a way it's like, you know, putting it in a savings because it's your property, you own it forever. Plus, you're taking a free vacation every year, worth at least $1,000. Now, what would be the best monthly program for you to begin with? Would you like to start with the 5-year plan or the 7-year plan? They told me in the model, if it was affordable, they would like to own it. All I'm asking them now is which way do they want to pay for it? All right, then they're going to tell you 5 or 7, or they're going to, what else can they tell you? The only other thing they can tell you is neither. If they said neither, none, then I would say of the 7-year, the $140 a month, between $0 and $140, how much could you pay? And if they say maybe $30 or $50, I'll say, okay, we really don't have anything. I'm glad you came out and spent your time with us. I hope you learned a lot. It's really been a pleasure. Come on with me. I'm going to take you to get your gift. Because you want to get rid of them, get your gift, get their gift, sign back in, and get another tour. You don't want to waste any more time with them. Because if they don't have the money, why waste time with them? They can put no money in your pocket. And if they do have the money and they're stroking you, then get rid of them anyway because they're not buying. You don't waste your time with those people. And you're not, and the ones that can't afford it, well, they just can't afford it. And don't be mad at them or anything. They came out for a free gift. When that's what they're entitled to do. Part of the business. And, you know, I'll tell you one thing, I feel sorry for a lot of people. I'll tell you another thing, I thank God for this job because I see how much people are making out there and we're making a lot of money. I'll tell you right now, I earned $13,000 in the last 5.5 weeks. And I had many people I've walked in here and talked to pulling in them kind of bucks. So it makes you appreciate, you know, what the opportunity that you have to make here. Another thing, reason I love this job is because I tell you, this is the most educating job I've ever done. Yes, we do the same thing over and over again, but who do you get to talk to? 1 minute I'm talking to a guy from Connecticut. The next minute I'm talking to a guy from South America. The next minute I'm talking to a guy from Grenada. The next minute Canadians. I know we hate truant Canadians, things people, the only thing I get out of them is what's it like in their country. But I mean, you can learn what's happening all over the world. You know? I mean, it's really, you know, and you learn how people live. And I mean, I tell you, I love this job. I swear, when you leave here, you apply to work at the United Nations. I tell you, right, that's right. Okay, but anyway, if you go over this and you box them into 5 and 7 years, and they can only give you one of the 2 answers. They say 7, you go back here and you say, now as far as the down payment, do you have access to these funds when you get home? It's either a yes they do, which you go get a TO. It's either no they don't, you go get a TO. Either way, your job is over. Your job is over. That's all you have to do. That's how easy it is. And if you follow this same formula with everybody that comes in that door, day in and day out, I promise you, you know, you have to do whatever, your personality and change your stories, I promise you, you'll make at least $40,000 in the next 12 months. I promise you. With everybody that follows this formula,